Today, we're looking at just a truly devastating event that happened in the Tai Po district of Hong Kong, a massive apartment fire. And while it was, of course, a huge human tragedy, there's also this staggering financial story wrapped inside it. And that story has some rock-solid lessons for every single homeowner listening right now.
And we should just state that financial figure right up front because it's monumental. Insurers are looking at potential payouts as high as $334 million US.
Wow. US $334 million.
From this one single event. That number, it's the quantified value of a catastrophe. It's the cost of rebuilding lives.
Okay, so let's unpack that. We're going to dive into why this event in Hong Kong is, frankly, the ultimate proof that home insurance isn't just some box you check for a mortgage.
No, it's a fundamental financial shield. And we're going to use this disaster as a case study, really, to help you review your own protection.
So let's start with the fire itself at the Wang Fuk Court Complex. I mean, to even begin to understand that $334 million figure, you have to understand how a fire could spread so fast through 8 huge apartment blocks. How did that even happen?
Well, the investigation pointed to a really deadly combination of things. You have to picture Hong Kong, very high density, unique construction. And they found these highly flammable Styrofoam panels on the windows.
Styrofoam, like for insulation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But crucially, the entire complex was also wrapped in bamboo scaffolding and this protective netting for some renovation work.
Wait, so you basically had a high-rise building wrapped in kindling?
Precisely. That combination created a sort of a rapid ignition path. The flames would break a window, and then they had immediate access to all this flammable material on the outside.
And the scaffolding just carried it everywhere.
It just let it jump from unit to unit, block to block, at this just alarming speed. This is why the destruction and that $334 million bill was so widespread.
Beyond the materials, though, the sources point to an even more, a more fundamental failure. The one system that's supposed to give people a chance.
Yeah, and this is probably the most devastating detail. The fire alarms in all 8 blocks of the complex were not working correctly.
All 8?
All 8. A total failure. So that most basic safety system was gone. Prevention failed completely, which, is a huge factor in the property loss we're now trying to quantify.
And you had about 4,600 residents in that complex. So that $334 million, it's not just concrete and steel.
No, it's the cost of replacing the contents of 4,600 lives and finding them all a place to live while the rebuilding happens.
Which is really the core of it, isn't it? The difference between surviving a disaster and being financially ruined by it.
It is. And what the analysis showed afterward was just, for most people in that area, the financial protection just wasn't there.
I saw some of those numbers. They're pretty shocking.
They are. A survey by AXA in Hong Kong found that nearly 80% of respondents did not buy home insurance.
80%? That's almost unbelievable in such a dense city.
It gets worse. 40% had never even seriously considered needing it.
So what's behind that gap? Do people just underestimate the risk, or is there something else going on?
It's a few things. First, there's the "it won't happen to me" mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And people rely on building prevention systems, which, as we just saw, can totally fail.
Right.
But secondly, there's a huge amount of confusion when people do think about getting coverage.
And what's that confusion about? What are they getting wrong?
The survey data was pretty damning here. Over 90% of people couldn't tell the difference between basic fire insurance and comprehensive homeowners insurance.
Okay, that's a huge distinction.
It's everything. See, many people just buy the basic fire policy because the lender requires it. It only covers the physical structure, the bones of the building.
But not their actual life inside the building.
Yeah, exactly. They mistakenly think that basic policy covers things like replacing furniture or, and this is the most critical part, temporary accommodation, what we call additional living expenses, or ALE.
Right. So if you're out of your home for, say, 2 years while they rebuild, that hotel bill is coming out of your pocket.
Tens of thousands of dollars, easily. So prevention failed because the alarms were broken, and then the financial protection failed because the insurance was totally inadequate.
Which makes the case for moving beyond just fire insurance absolutely rock solid. So let's connect this back to you, the listener. Your home is probably your biggest asset.
It is, and this $334 million event is the ultimate lesson in how a proper homeowner's policy acts as a shield with multiple layers.
Okay, so let's break down those layers. Looking at that $334 million catastrophe, where does comprehensive insurance step in?
Okay, so layer 1 is dwelling coverage. That's the core. It covers the cost to rebuild the structure, the walls, the roof. This is where the bulk of that $334 million payout comes from. It puts the building back up.
But then you walk into your rebuild apartment and it's empty. Everything you owned is gone.
And that's layer 2, personal property coverage. This replaces your life's contents, furniture, clothes, electronics. And the numbers here are huge. The data showed the average Hong Kong home had nearly HK $400,000 in valuables.
And with just basic fire insurance, you get zero for that.
Zero. You're starting from scratch. Then there's the third and maybe most urgent layer. We talked about it. Where do you live for the next 2 years?
Right, the additional living expenses, the ALE.
This is the financial lifeline. It's not a luxury. It covers your hotel, your temporary rent, maybe extra food costs because you can't cook. Without ALE, that $334 million story just becomes a story of immediate crippling debt for thousands.
And there's one more piece, right? Because fires don't really respect property lines.
Correct. That's the fourth layer, liability protection. What if the fire started in your unit? What if your neighbor sues you for damages?
Oof. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that.
In a disaster this big, lawsuits are inevitable. Liability coverage pays for your legal defense and any damages, protecting your savings, your future. It's a shield for everything you've worked for.
So it's not one thing. It's 4 completely separate financial risks: rebuilding, replacing, relocating, and defending yourself legally. And that's why that $334 million figure is so massive.
Exactly. And it's why just having basic fire insurance leaves you almost completely exposed. So the lesson from Tai Po is pretty clear. When prevention fails, protection is all you have.
Okay, so let's turn this into an action plan for everyone listening. A checkup. Based on what went wrong in Hong Kong, where do you start?
You start with the limits, the dollar amounts.
Yeah.
On your dwelling coverage, you have to make sure the limit matches the cost to rebuild your home today, not its market value.
Because construction costs can spike after a big disaster.
They skyrocket. Everyone needs a contractor at the same time. You should check if your policy has something called an inflation guard or, even better, extended replacement cost coverage. That gives you a buffer, like an extra 25% if costs go way up.
That extended coverage sounds key. Okay, what about your stuff and the cost of living somewhere else? Personal property and ALE.
For personal property, you need a home inventory. You need to know what you have. Ask yourself, would your current limit really replace everything? For ALE, you need to know 2 things: the dollar limit and the time limit.
Time limit.
Yeah, some policies cap it at 12 or 24 months. If it takes 36 months to rebuild a high-rise, you're on your own for that last year. That's a gap you need to know about.
And that brings us to the second point, which is the big confusion from that survey, the terminology trap.
Do not assume. You need to pull out your policy and look for the words. Don't confuse a basic fire insurance policy with a comprehensive homeowner's insurance policy. If you don't see the phrases additional living expenses and personal liability on your declarations page, you likely have massive gaps.
You're not as protected as you think you are.
Not even close. Finally, let's link it back to that tragic failure in Hong Kong. The alarms. Prevention.
Right, we have to do our part too.
This whole case study is a grim reminder that you can't just rely on communal systems. You need to do your own home safety audit, test your own smoke alarms regularly, but also think bigger.
What do you mean?
Look at the environment around your home. Are there things that could act like that styrofoam and bamboo? Piles of dry leaves, flammable decorations near an exit? You have to think like fire for a minute and remove the fuel.
The Hong Kong fire is it's a profound reminder. $334 million from one event. It shows that these things do happen, and insurance is not passive. It's active financial preparation.
It's about protecting your foundation.
Yep.
I mean, taking these steps, checking your policy, understanding what you have, it's the single most important thing you can do to protect your family's future.
So when it all comes down to it, for those 4,600 residents, the difference between financial ruin and recovery was entirely in the fine print of their policy.
That's it. Whether they had a basic mandated policy or a comprehensive shield that actually covered the real-world costs of a disaster.
And that leads to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with.
Yet, think about this. The Hong Kong fire proved that the most fundamental safety systems, the ones we all count on, like fire alarms, can fail completely across an entire community. So if prevention fails, and we know it often does in a big disaster, have you secured the only guaranteed line of defense you have left? Because insurance has to be seen as that final rock-solid backup for when everything else just collapses.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. No matter what type of insurance you're looking for, home, auto, business, or specialty coverage, Blue Rock Insurance Services is here to help you navigate it with confidence. If you need guidance, quotes, or a second opinion on your current policy, reach out to us anytime. We're here to make sure you get the protection that truly fits your life. Until next time, stay safe and stay insured with Blue Rock.